Welcome to Sports Tonight Live. I'm Flash and this is the Punter. And joining us today we've got Russ Wiseman from Sporting Bet, regular on the show, Alger from Blue Square, and professional betting man is Neil Channing. Boys, how's the week been?
It's been a tough week, actually, Flash. We've had plenty going on, obviously. I mean, from my perspective, just in the last few days, we've seen some good football results. 2 draws in the big games, Liverpool and Wigan drawing a televised game. And, of course, the big one last night, Spurs and Chelsea. So we're getting a few quid back, but this is the key period of the year for bookmakers and punters alike. A lot of recreational punters will be playing, but bookmakers banking on making a few quid over the next week or so.
Yeah. We like draws in those big live games, as Russ has said.
Russ don't like draws.
But I think that the other results were against us. There were a few favourites that won on the Wednesday night, and I would just say overall it's been a bit of a score draw going into Christmas, and this is going to be a key period for us.
So would you say it's a dangerous time for punters or a dangerous time for the bookies?
Well, I just think it's an exciting time more than anything, Flash. I mean, we get so much good sport on here. We've got lots of in-play betting. In channels will be touching on some of this in-play stuff we're looking at the moment. But I mean, lots of really great events. The racing superb, football matches galore. It gives a punter a lot of choice, a lot of options to nick a few quid. So bookmakers have to be on their toes. We're tired as much as anyone else, but it really is a golden period if you're a punter, I think.
Channers, this week, how's it been?
Well, I went for the jackpot last week with Norwich. I mean, there's a big price to win a Premier game. I ended up getting 13-2. To win a Premier game, that's pretty ridiculous.
You were happy at 5s at one stage, weren't you?
Yeah, I'd have been happy. I pressed up all the way, and of course they scored after 81 minutes, and damn Everton killed me. But yeah, I've not had a bad week. Yeah, Wigan did me a favour against Chelsea, so they've been good for me recently. I might maybe for Christmas I might get a Wigan shirt.
Yeah, I mean I went for Everton last week as well, so we had all bases covered, and as luck would have it comes up the draw. So
that was a massive move though. 1.53 they went off, and when we were talking about it on the show, they were like 1.7. So
I was surprised at the 5-1. I couldn't believe the 5-1, and for the fact it actually then drifted. Yeah, it's incredible. I think Everton are that type of team though that they still have the prestige of the name, and I think that's where people have come in for them there.
5-1's no good for you. I mean, you knocked in a 12-1 winner last week, didn't you?
Yeah, Ray Star in the big race, the big handicap. Yeah, I did see that when we were discussing it, Boyle Sports were 8-1, and it did actually drift. You were 11-1, we were 10s. It did actually drift on course, but managed to back that morning, and that was quite good. Along with my bet of the year, which was Man City to beat Arsenal. Now I got greedy on that one and went for the handicap, and that didn't come in.
Yeah, I mean Arsenal, they were good, weren't they? I mean, although they got beat, well. I mean, on another day, it could have ended up the draw if the penalty was given.
Well, actually, I watched a little portion of the game in Al's company. I actually thought Arsenal were quite useful, but I suppose what it does show is how resilient City are. I mean, Channers was making a case last week about Man City probably being valued to win the league. I think we saw in the bulk of that game just why they are good value. Even when they're faced with a good side with adversity, they seem to just power their way through. They're going to be very difficult to beat in 2012.
I'm glad you mentioned how well I brought that up, because I actually was thinking that the whole week that they look like the real deal. Definitely, I think they're the winners. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we'll have a look, because I mean 5 of the last 7 teams who have been top at Christmas have gone on to win it. But you look there, Man City are like 4-7. Man United are only 2 points behind. Course and distance winners sort of 19 times, if you like. And who would bet against them? So,
well, last week we were talking about 10-11 Man City, weren't we? I mean, they didn't really have to do very much this week to go from 10-11 to 8-15. So we must have been right last week. But I don't know. Given that you could have had 10-11 a week ago and nothing really that much. Okay, they beat Arsenal, but they beat Arsenal in a match where they were 2-1 on to win. And okay, Chelsea, didn't beat Wigan, but is this a slight overreaction in a way?
Well, it's mainly due to the fact that it's become a 2-horse race.
It's
not Manchester United's price that's affecting cities here. It's Chelsea's, Tottenham's, and Arsenal's.
We were saying last week, Man United felt more like they should be 5-2. I don't know whether they do so much anymore.
Do you know what? The funny thing about United is that I think we're all in agreement. I know we'll probably speak to the butler soon, Flash, but I mean, I think we're all in agreement they're fairly average. But let's actually give them some credit here. I mean, they've just gone to West London twice, won 2-0, 5-0. I mean, while they've got that guy at the helm, regardless of the average players, I still think they're a chance. I still think it's making City a very attractive option at the moment. I think some of the professional money will steam into City.
You still prefer City?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But again, it is a 2-horse race. So
yeah.
I mean,
we've got Tottenham at 28 to 1. I mean, they just feel like a 200 to 1 chance. I don't even really have them in it, you know.
So basically, there's no need for the quotes for your Tottenham and Chelsea, because we've just got Man United, Man City. That's it.
They're there because they have to be there. Those quotes. But you're right. Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Okay, let's go up to the Skype. We've got Nigel Seeley, who's the betting butler. How you doing, Nigel?
Good afternoon. How are you guys? All right?
Good.
Oh, what an excellent microphone you've got there, Nigel. Very good. Oh, we know what you've got for Christmas.
Nigel, we were just saying that now it's a 2-horse race, Man United, Man City. Which way are you swaying?
Well, we said it last week, didn't we? We said we thought it was going to be a 2-horse race, and I think the results of the midweek suggest that as well. I think Manchester City still, for me, have got the upper hand. We've said about for so long that Manchester United being an average sort of team compared to Manchester United's gone in the past, but they keep grinding results out, and not just grinding, emphatically winning it at Fulham in midweek. But Fulham were very, very poor anyway. But Man United did the business. They won 5-0. The only trouble with them is they've got 10 first-team players out injured. I mean, they're not squad players, so not first-team players, but they've got 2 extra. They've got blows already for Young, Ferdinand, and Jones with his facial injury. I just think these injuries might catch up with them. I think it's very hard for, I don't think they have the strength in depth of squad that they've had in previous years that may get them through these worries. And, look at the fixtures they've got. They've got Wigan, Channers' favourite team, Wigan there. They should be able to beat them. But I still think they've got tougher things to come. And I think the squad that Manchester City have assembled when the going gets tough, I think that they'll get through Manchester City.
If you're coming into it cold now, Nigel, and you haven't had a bet at all, can you have a bet of 4 to 7, 2 to 1, or is it just like about right now?
It looks bang on to me, doesn't it, Channers? It looks. You've said before in the show, what mileage is there in for people trying? You'll look for an edge in punting. Manchester United, Manchester City, the prices are just about right. Everyone's got simulations now that runs up the probabilities and the prices, and I think those prices are about right. The only thing that you look at is obviously injuries, Champions League. Well, none of them have got Champions League, but UEFA Cup, Europa League commitments. And you just got to think, the prices look right. People are saying Manchester United playing well, but Manchester City are just playing football at a different level to me. The Man City Arsenal game, the quality of that game last week was absolutely unbelievable. And they're not winning games as well as they should do. I mean, Chelsea, first 20 minutes, they were absolutely superb. And they could have been 2 or 3-0 up, but they went on to lose the game. They're going to hit some. They've just got quality oozing through the squad, and I think they're a team at 4 to 7. I think they have to be favourites. But as far as having a bet, you couldn't have a bet on it either. The prices look about right. Okay,
so that's the top all sorted out. We're just going to have a little look at the bottom here. And we've got Blackburn who are at bottom, and now only West Brom have ever survived, who have been bottom at Christmas and not to be relegated. So we got Blackburn, Bolton, Wigan, Wolves, QPR, Sunderland, and apart from Bolton and Blackburn, you only got 3 points covering 4 or 5 teams. Who's your favourites to go?
Well, I think Blackburn obviously decide. I think Bolton, the 2 that everyone thinks are going to go down. The trouble with Bolton is that they've had this style of football, physical style of football, and the players that played that system have got old, and their bodies aren't physically as good as they were 2 or 3 years ago. So not the quality. Kevin Davis just doesn't look the same player as he was 2 years ago, and age is catching up with them. And I think the trouble with those, I think they looked at 2-2 doomed. But I tell you what, I'm a QPR fan, and they look in trouble. They look in big trouble. They look like a side who can't score goals. They've got the lowest scoring record in the Premier League at home. Away from home, they're not so great. I think Neil Warner got in there, got the crowd going, and we're going to go well here, and the crowd on this side making it a very tough thing. But the quality isn't in that club, and I think the severe lack of goal scorer is their big downfall. But in the transfer window, I'm hearing Bobby Zamora looks like it's a good thing to be going there. So that could change that. But QPR at the moment, the team I think could go down. And I'd say another team, I don't think they'll go down, but for the second half of the season, I think you want to be against Newcastle in virtually everything they do. If they had about 5 or 6 points less than what they had, I think they could be in serious relegation problems. But they're the 2 for me to oppose in the early part of the new year. I think they're 2 sides in 3-4. At the bottom, I think Bolton, Blackburn, I think Wigan have been in this position so many times. The manager knows what to do. I think Wolves at home could match anybody with their style of play. But I think QPR and Newcastle could be the sides that could get sucked into it.
Well, we'll go over to the odds, and I see that we've got both Sporting Bet and obviously Blue Square. You're taking a sponsorship view on Wolves, and 9 to 5, so. Because obviously Blue Square are just 6 to 4 for them to be relegated.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. I mean, we're very similar prices. The thing with this Wolves thing is that our odds compilers and our business generally is behind Wolves. But let's be honest about it, they are dire. They're desperate Wolves. I mean, they really are. However, they're very, very good at identifying these games, and Nigel touched upon it couple of weeks ago, where Mick McCarthy will have his eye on a game probably 3 or 4 weeks from now, and he'll have that down as 3 points. And they tend to perform in those games. So I do think the teams that haven't been down there and actually understand what to do, like Blackburn and Bolton, I think they're bang in trouble, because there are certain clubs who do know how to perform when they're in these kind of pressurised situations. I think Channers might touch on it later. I think Swansea could be sucked in. They've been very impressive so far, haven't accumulated that many points. Do agree with him on Newcastle. I think they could be brought into it, but they're too far away now. And even Villa, they're 9-1 at the moment to go down Villa. We've seen quite a little bit of money for Villa at the moment. They need to start performing.
They've got goals in them though, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably be fine, but there's always one team, Flash, that isn't on that list. Somehow gets dragged into it. It may well be that we only see
but maybe lads, this time last week, QPR wouldn't have been on that list, because, I mean, 11-4 is probably the skinniest they've been all season, and I have actually tipped them to go down.
Well, they were at a much shorter price at the start of the season, but during the season they have drifted to this kind of price. Their home record's very poor. They're only 11-4 now because people are expecting them to spend money, as the betting butler just said. You know, if they do spend money and they spend it in the right places and the money's actually there, then they should get themselves out of it. I think Bolton are in the most trouble out of those teams, because at least Blackburn look creative. I know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but at least they're creating chances. Bolton, I know everyone talks about the physical side of their game. That is the key part of their game. But in the past, they've been able to mix that up with creative play. They had Jack Wilshere on loan from Arsenal. He provided plenty of goals for them. That's just not there at the moment, and they could be the ones that struggle.
Yeah, I mean, we have a look at that. I mean, I've actually got to think that Blackburn will stay up because of the squad that they've got, if they're managed in the right way. So the next 2 weeks are going to be paramount. If we get a new manager in, I think we're going to see a different Blackburn from now to the end of the season, and they could be someone we could stick with. But Wigan, Bolton, QPR, I think Wolves will be safe. Swansea don't let goals in, so they're always in games. They're really coupon spoilers. But the evidence is that if you're bottom of the league at Christmas, then 9 times out of 10 you're going to go.
Channers, you got a view on that?
Well, I tend to think my angle always with Premier League relegation is to look at teams that people historically think are too big a club to go down. And you touched on Aston Villa. They would be a team that a lot of people would say, well, you know, Villa, yeah, they're not really in it, you know, because at the start of the season you have certain preconceptions. You think teams like QPR and Swansea, people are backing them anti-pot. Most of the money in the going down market is bet at the start of the season. You know, week 6 of the season, you hardly take a bet on this kind of thing. Now, at Christmas is a busy time. People reflect. The Racing Post has a 2-page spread about halfway through the season and whatever, and there's some more tips going around, and people start looking at it again. But I think generally, if there are teams, I bet Blackburn quite a few years ago now, maybe 9 years ago, at like 14-1, 16-1, and I was backing them all the way down. And people kept saying to me, no, they're too good. They're too much of a big name club. I can't really see one of those. Maybe Villa might be one, but I can't really see one to get into at the moment.
That's excellent. All right, we're going to have a break. We've gone through the top of the league, gone through the bottom of the league. And when you come back, it will be Boxing Day fixtures. So we'll see you in a minute. Hey, welcome to Sports Tonight Live. I'm Flash, and we're doing the Punter with Russ, Alan and Channers. And up on the Skype pool, we've got Nigel. Now, Boxing Day fixtures, gentlemen, it's an absolute graveyard for some. Now, hopefully it's going to be for you boys because the Punter's on top. But it looks really, really trappy, to be honest.
Yeah, but there's plenty going on, though, isn't there, Flash? I mean, all sorts of action for people to take stock of. I mean, I know Neil's got some views. I'm sure the Butler will pinpoint some as well, but I think everyone will have an opinion on these, and all these games come so quickly as well. You know, there's going to be some digestion of team news and tactics and whatever, who's going to kind of deal with these fixtures in a row very quickly. I'm excited about it, but at the moment it's pretty much money spread across the board. Punters aren't getting heavily involved just a couple of days beforehand. So
Nigel, we've got Chelsea Fulham, local derby. Everyone's got to be on Chelsea, haven't they?
Yeah, but there's a price to back them at, a price to say I'm not having any bet. And I think the price you're asking them a bet on at 3 on, you're not going to be stampede down the local betting shop to get on Chelsea at 3 on. I mean, they played very well in midweek. They played well against Tottenham. I thought they had the better of the game. Should have scored. You know, played well against Manchester City, but they're still a long way away from the team. And you want to back like they were 2 or 3 years ago. Fulham are around about 14-1 on exchanges. Obviously looks massive, but the way they played in midweek, they were abysmal. And they've got to turn us.
people last week were fighting to bet them away from home at the mighty Wigan at the same kind of price, though. You know, you say Fulham never turn up away from home. I mean, I know this is a local derby and everything like that, but surely, I know we know the benefit of knowing last week's result, but looking at the two in a vacuum, 3 on for each of the 2 games, one's away from home against Wigan, one's at home against Fulham. I mean, surely this is a better bet out of the 2.
Oh, definitely. Out of the 2 of them, you'd probably make the case they are. But I think the Fulham performance in midweek really sort of changed people's opinion. I thought Fulham can go very defensive away from home, and they sit and they did that in the Carling Cup. They were 0-0 with them, and they frustrated Chelsea. I know they're a very different side that's going to play, but I just think, you know, there's no doubt about it. Chelsea will probably win the game. They probably win the game quite well, but I wouldn't be rushing at 3 on. I think Fulham are a trappy team. You never know which point. One week they can be appalling. The next week they can be very, very good. I mean, they beat QPR 6-0, and then the following week they're going to, lose to one of the lesser sides at home. But I think Chelsea will probably win it, but I wouldn't be having a bet.
Fair enough.
I think, as you'll see, over the Boxing Day and the 27th, you've got 4 or 5 odds-on shots, all around the 3 on mark, some even shorter. And we'll be hoping, as bookmakers, to just get at least one of those beat. And Chelsea would be towards the top of that pile, I think.
Yeah, but you're going to see, I mean, in accumulators, you've got 130 Chelsea, 4-1. The pair of you have gone with the draw, and both have gone 9-1 for the away.
Yeah,
so
I think what Nigel says is a very good point about this Fulham team. You don't actually know what you're going to get with them. Now, I would actually like to think this is the kind of game you'd want to take Chelsea on, because they're not really doing the business. The prices add up to a good lay from a bookmaking point of view. However, I think Fulham have won something like 13 games away from home in the last 7 years in the Premier League. It's just a rotten record. I think
I gave you that on the points,
generally the record is abysmal.
That was ahead of them being the biggest coupon buster we've had in the last few weeks at Arsenal. At a very big price. They got the draw, and they were. 5-0.
Do
you know what? They were good for the win that day. They were good for the win.
And he's going to be looking for a reaction after they got done 5-0 at home. Now, for all intents and purposes, another home game for the fans, so that there's going to be no shortage of Fulham fans being there, and they'll want to see a reaction.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a game as a punter I'd be looking to swerve. As a bookmaker, I'm happy to take the odds about Chelsea.
Let me ask you guys a question. Just I honestly don't know the answer to this. It's Christmas. There's games spread over different days. The betting shops are closed some of the time. How much does that make a difference to the total handle? How much money is wagered over the week's matches? Is it going to be a lot quieter or not really?
I would say it'd be extremely busy. People will. Usually, you'll see on a day like this, on Boxing Day in particular, that people place their bets early. They won't be coming in and out, and they'll place their bets early, and they might include the games on the 27th in accumulators, but most people now, because you can bet online, will do a section of games on a certain day, and then we'll come back and visit for the next day for the next set of bets.
Let's be very clear about it, Chandler. Family men like myself and the butler will be gasping, desperate, literally 9 o'clock in the morning to find a way to be involved. I mean, it's just.
I'm going to look up for my turkey sandwich.
I'm one of these people who believes the Americans have got it banged on having NBA games on Christmas Day. That's the way I think it should be. There should be all kinds of action, but I think most people will be literally chomping at the bit to get involved.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously we can't look outside Chelsea, but if they get beat, then obviously a smile on your faces. But Nigel, we're going to go for a much closer game now, and that's Bolton-Newcastle. So this is a game where Bolton can start thinking, we get 3 points, we're going to pull ourselves closer to safety, and Newcastle, no winning 6, so they're going to be looking to get back on winning ways rather quickly.
Yeah, and I think this is a very, very difficult game to assess, because for them facts you say there, I mean, on first glance, you'd have to look at Bolton and say, I think they're worth a bet because they need the points. There's people who have this sort of fallacy that teams that need the points get the points. So there's all this idea that Bolton, it's their last chance, even this start of the season. If they don't win here, they're in trouble. But you just couldn't back them with anyone's money the way they're playing, and that's the big problem you have here. So, I mean, Newcastle, I touched on earlier, I think they're a side that's still opposed massively. Defensive problems, they're going to lose 2 of their best players in the African Nations Cup, which is a massive blow for them. And I think they're a team to oppose next season. And for that reason alone, I think Bolton at home, they'll look at this game and say, we've got to get something from it. If they don't get something from it, he could be the first manager to be sacked. He might not even last the year out. I think that could be a bet here.
Something that people didn't point out when Newcastle were on this fantastic run, and people were even talking about a Champions League place, and it was absolutely ridiculous. All of their wins in that period came against sides in the bottom half of the table. There was a draw against Arsenal at home on the first day. Every time they played a decent team, they were played off the park. As you saw in the next set of fixtures when they played Chelsea, okay, they drew at Manchester United, but I would say other than that, I think the Butlers got it spot on, and you will see a regression in their form. It's just whether or not you can take advantage of it. This week, it doesn't look like it. This is the week.
So. I mean, yeah, you can't. I
Can't
can't.
be
No, you can't put up 11-8 Bolton, can you? Oh, there's got to be better bets over the week than betting Bolton. At
No. I think there's better bets in the Premier League over the weekend. But we've only started on 2 games. Let's be honest. I mean, I just think Newcastle are poor, mate.
I agree. You've got to take them on.
I don't disagree with you, but I can't see there's an angle for betting in this game. Those prices look about right, don't they?
You've got to look to take Newcastle on. Totally agree with that. It's not this week.
Well, Nigel, at the minute I'm feeling like a 2-foot dwarf because one of my best bets of the weekend is Newcastle to win at Bolton. And the reason I've done that is because I know they've got defensive frailties, but Bolton only play 1 up. And they normally play from long balls on diagonals, which is obviously then going to play into.
You've lost me, Flash. You've lost me.
Basically, Newcastle score goals. Bolton don't. I think Newcastle have too much pace on the break, so I've gone for Newcastle.
Tends to be a good theory.
Against everybody else's opinion. Liverpool, Blackburn. Blackburn, have they ever won at Anfield?
Last time they won there, Kenny was the manager. Yeah, Kenny was the manager last time they won there. Sorry.
Yeah, when they won the league, I think they won there. But I mean, you've got to remember as well, Liverpool are a team that's everybody sort of, they're the ones that you can't back odds on. These are the kind of games they slip onto. You're talking about 3-on shots Chelsea and various things. Liverpool are 2-7 to win this game. Now, anybody who goes to back Liverpool at 2-7 or those kind of prices really needs their head examining because they are the ones that every week, they did it in midweek against Wigan. There was a massive bet. I was out on Wednesday night. There was a massive bet called in. Someone wanted a huge bet on Liverpool to win that game. They're the team that always let you down at odds on and go to places like Manchester United or Chelsea or Manchester City and win. So realistically, if you're backing Liverpool, you've been on the Christmas, been too quickly on Christmas Day, but you can't back them at 2-7. Blackburn are double-figure prices. They are going to do a number on someone soon. They're a team that creating chances. They're going to score goals. Who's to say that away from home, when the pressure's not on him, that could be a decent bet? I would be definitely looking at Blackburn at a big price and taking on Liverpool because the history says always like Liverpool when they're big odds on at home to anybody. Look at this season. They've failed to beat Norwich. They've failed to beat Swansea. Odds on Liverpool never touch.
And the draw's a massive price there at 4-1, by the way, because you could almost have the draw and then assess it in running.
Lots of Liverpool games are ending up in draws at home, even against poor opposition like this. They are the bookmakers' friends, Liverpool. They really are at the moment, aren't they? I mean, they spent the 80s being the scourge of the betting industry, but I mean, obviously now you've got so many more ways to take them on, and punters do back them for games like this, and they leave them alone for the games that the Butler was saying against Manchester United, and Manchester United get backed, and Liverpool go and do us a favour. They win the games we want them to, and at the moment they're losing or drawing the games we don't.
Very interesting with Liverpool. They're definitely the second biggest club in this country in terms of support and interest, and certainly globally. I mean, people really do get behind them after United, and the betting world has never really kind of corrected itself in terms of their prices. They're always incredibly short. Even speaking to channels, and the Butler will probably back me up. Even after an hour against Wigan, they were odds on. It was bizarre, really. Everybody's still backing them blind. Even when it was very apparent in the last half an hour that Wigan were the better side, people were still piling into
Wigan
Liverpool.
were unlucky.
Wigan actually finished the game strongly, but Liverpool, an enigmatic team. I think Butler said it all there. 4's on. You want to be taking them on every time, but they could easily chin a good side at some point.
Probably the trappiest game is up in Sunderland, Everton. Nige?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Sunderland played quite well in midweek against QPR. I know QPR didn't play well, but I think Martin Neal's just going to turn that around there. And I thought Everton could be a team. We were talking about earlier about teams in relegation problems. I thought they could be a side that could get into that, but they got that midweek result, which was massive for them. And I just thought if they lost that, they could be a side that's struggling. The manager doesn't seem as much interest as he is anymore in the club. I mean, they haven't got much money to spend. You can see he wants a bigger challenge, and they don't score goals. So Sunderland under O'Neill, I think they're going to turn it around, and I would probably make a small case to back Sunderland. They're not my best bet of the Premier League this weekend, but I think that Sunderland will be a close second or third at home. I think away at Everton just do not have any offering goals, and I think Sunderland probably do a number of them. And I haven't seen the prices. What are they? Around about sort of 5 to 4. Something like that.
Yeah, 6 to 4 Sunderland, 5 to 4 Everton. But don't hold out on us. What's the best bet then?
I think the best bet of the week is without doubt Stoke to beat Aston Villa. I think Stoke, I think they're even money, probably going a bit under even money. It's been a big move already in Asia developing on Stoke. I'd definitely be all over Stoke at 10 to 11 even money to beat Villa. And Villa can't beat anybody. They've got Heskey's out. Ben may be returning unless he wants to do a bit of New Year's shopping. I don't know. He might fancy taking the missus out to get some clothes or something. So he might not be there. But I think Villa are a side that's in a mess, and I think that Stoke at home in that game, anything near even money is much better the weekend than the Premier League.
Can you give Villa a shout?
Well, I know Channels has got a view in this game, but I think Villa stink. I'm going to go on record as saying that. I don't care if I'm upsetting anyone from that area. I think they're absolutely desperate. I think Stoke at the moment, I'm actually meeting Tony Pulis, would you believe, this afternoon for a quiet Christmas drink. I just think their team, nothing to worry about now until early February now.
Inside knowledge tomorrow,
well, I mean, look at this Europa League. They don't have to worry about it for 2 months now. They're already turning their form around. Yeah, they're a proper Premier League outfit, aren't they? I think they'll probably physically batter Villa here and nick it, but I know Chan has got a different...
Well, you know, generally speaking, any thoughts I have on football, you guys all spend a lot of time talking about this player's back and that player's back. I'm looking for overreactions in the market to things that are happening. I'm looking for the punters skewing things in a way that they shouldn't be skewed because of outside factors. Things like more people like Liverpool than like Stoke. Stoke are an unfashionable team. In lots of ways, they play a lot of kind of ugly football. Really, in lots of ways, they don't have an enormous fan base, so they're generally a team I like to be with. Villa are generally an overrated team that people kind of think should be one of the kind of top 8, 9 in the Premier, and people tend to be, you know, going for Villa. As a general thing, you know, quite often I'm laying Villa. I find them backing Stoke on a Saturday. Not this week. I think Villa are absolutely and you know, but they've made them. You know, this is a big price, isn't it? At Stoke, Stoke are not odds on very often. I've made my money with Stoke, backing them at big prices.
Will you make more money this weekend backing them?
Well, I just think, I was surprised when I saw the price. I'm surprised that Stoke are odds on. I only looked at it this morning, and I was expecting to see, you know, Villa about 9-4, and there's 7-2. That seems like a big price, doesn't it?
So you'd edge towards Villa then?
I'm edging towards Villa, but you know, it's not like an absolute napperoon. It's nowhere near as good a bet for me as Norwich was last week. This will be just a small bet for me.
Al, any thoughts on that?
No, but I don't know whether we've got the Wolves Arsenal game there, but there's some their form lines through. If you think Villa are very, very poor, they've nearly beaten Arsenal and probably deserve to at least draw against Arsenal in midweek. So what does that tell you about Arsenal? And if you start to talk about Arsenal and think about the results they've had this season, Arsene Wenger's the only manager to have been given a goal start by Steve Keane twice in a game and come away with no points from that game.
Yeah, mad game.
Now that sums up his tactical awareness during games. Now everyone said he made fantastic substitutions the other night. It's just that, unfortunately, Villa cannot mark from set plays, and Yossi Benayoun, who's about 4'0", has come in at the far post. He's hit his head. It's gone in. Arsenal have won. They've been very fortunate, Arsenal, and they've been very fortunate in games. We talked about how bad Fulham are earlier. Fulham got a draw at the Emirates. Arsenal are a very poor team. They don't deserve to be in the top 4. They won't be in the top 4. And there's some 14-1 around for Wolves. And the draw price in this game, if you back on the handicap, if you back Wolves +1, I think you'll have a very good run for your money for this game.
So we've got 9-2 on Arsenal, about 9-2 the draw, and 12-1 for Wolves. I mean, looking at and listening to this, I mean, you could almost put Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, leave out Liverpool, and have a little odds-on trouble.
Well, I think people will put Liverpool in, and that's exactly why. I think there are 4 or 5 games over the 2 days where the prices range from about 5-1 on to 3-1 on, and I think all 5 of those will be in bets for a lot of people. And again, I would have Arsenal at the top of our tree as the one we could get.
So you think they're overrated, Arsenal?
Absolutely.
Really?
I mean, we're talking about. I know that your focus is usually on the poor teams where you can sort of sense where they're being overrated. Well, I think people need to latch on to the fact that Arsenal are being massively overrated. Like, they're saying that their form has improved. It hasn't at all. It hasn't at all. If you think Villa are bad, well, they nearly got beat by them. If you think Fulham are even worse, well, they've been held to a draw at home by them. And they're not smashing teams the way they used to. This unbeaten run has been built on 1-goal victories and draws. It hasn't been built on the usual Arsenal of 5-6 years ago, smashing teams 3 or 4-0 with wonderful play. And they will lose against a team that are a very big price in the next 3 or 4 weeks. It might be Wolves. Even if you follow it in for 3 weeks, I guarantee you within a month's time you will not have lost your stake money. There will be a point where they lose at a very, very big price.
Okay, gentlemen, you're watching Sports Tonight. This is the Punter. We're going to have a quick break and then come straight back to us. And these boys will sort out where and when you can earn your money. Welcome back to the Punter on Sports Tonight Live. I'm Flash and I'm joined by Sporting Bet's Russ Wiseman and Alan Alger and Neil Channing. And Alan is from
Blue Square.
Blue Square, sorry, Al. So it's
Used to be at Sporting Bet.
Yeah,
we're all friends.
surrounded by bookmakers.
What's a firm between friends?
Yeah, I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable around bookmakers.
My brother works there as well,
Okay.
so it's fine.
Obviously, Christmas, you've got massive Boxing Day fixtures, but the King George is surely something that everyone looks forward to.
Special race, very special race actually. Special for so many reasons. It gets lots of recreational people who are involved in racing just for maybe a day a year. The professionals will have a view on it. The firms will be offering great prices, terrific concessions. I think it actually brings racing together. It's certainly the showcase of the season, bar Cheltenham. I think it's the biggest race individually. And just look at those 5 horses there. It's five of the very best. And an all-time great in Courto Star.
It's funny you say that, Russ. You know, the people that just are the literally once a year race goers. I used to live quite near Kempton, and a lot of people locally would literally just go to that meeting, have no real interest in horse racing the rest of the year, but never would miss that meeting. Yeah. And some of those people, they don't even really know anything that's happened to Long Run or Courto Star, other than the fact that every year they turn up. Last year, Long Run won. In past years, they've turned up and Courto Star has won. And they pile them. That used to happen with Desi in the old days, Desert Orchid. People just turn up and they pile their money on. They haven't actually seen the horse run at all the rest of the year. Didn't even watch Cheltenham, some of them. You know.
So both firms go 5 to 4 long runs. Obviously, Gold Cup winner.
Yeah.
And you've got Gold Cup winner in Cato Star. This is an unbelievable race.
Yeah, it is, and those prices are based on the fact that nobody is that convinced that Courto Star is a better horse than Long Run at the moment on the basis of that Haydock run, even though Courto Star won at Haydock. I think the general feeling is that Long Run was maybe at about 80% that day and will be about 90% for Kempton and 100% for the Gold Cup, and that's the way the season works.
It's pretty weird though, isn't it, Alan? Because I mean that view seems to be so accepted since Haydock.
It's there in the prices.
Yeah, Courto absolutely annihilated.
He did.
Long Run.
Long Run wasn't in the race at all.
And you're showing 100 to 30. You guys are both 100 to 30. I think there's a bit of 4 to 1 out there, Courto Star.
I think there's some 4 to 1 win only.
Are they expecting on day?
There are 8 runners.
Well,
Courto Star's not the kind of horse that would.
I can't see it drifting on the day, given what I said before. There's going to be 21,000 people, many of whom only go racing once or twice a year, who have been the last 3 years to the King George, and all they've heard of is Courto Star and Long Run.
I think Courto Star bet to nothing for a place.
Well, I know channels like Sit Each Way in the place market. Certainly, 8 runners, quarter the odds. A lot of the firms, all the firms, actually are giving those kind of odds away.
Well, you say all. Actually,
well, most
to be fair, I'm going to split these boys. God bless them. Blue Square and Sporting Bet, and a few other firms doing a quarter of the odds first 3 in this race. Ladbrokes, William Hills and Corals are 5th of the odds first 3. So, you should get on the internet, get on the phone to these
Well,
boys.
there will be specials. I don't think we're actually out with all of them yet, but have you
we've priced up a long run win and distance special. Now, to win by more than 6 lengths or under 6 lengths. And this race, since it's been back, it was at Kicking King won at Sandown, didn't it?
Right.
But in the last 5 years, this has been won by much more than 6 lengths. And the way that we frame the prices for this, you can back Long Run to win by over 6 lengths at 11 to 4. Now, I think if he's going to win the race, it will win by that distance, and I think that's a much better bet to take than the actual 5 to 4.
Do you think so? Your fault behind it is that Cato maybe second, clear of third, and he's going to just keep that 10% in there and not overexert it.
The winning distance in this race, the straight at Kempton, they get racing just before the turn, and then it's a very, very long straight, and that's why I actually think that the each way bet in this race is probably to look for the 3 outsiders that weren't on the graphic and pick a horse that you think can stay. and back them against those three horses
and it is
underneath
uphill,
the
isn't
two.
it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Kempton Hill.
it is. I think it's a tough race. I'm just speaking to Mick Fitzgerald, who probably knows more about racing than the most of us combined.
Only
However,
just.
having said that, I still like the views of punters. We're 6-1 long run to win this race and the Gold Cup. He thinks that's a gimme. He's got a lot of loyalty to the Henderson Yard, though, and I think Henderson generally has a very good record at that festival. That's another thing that's probably been built into the price.
Before we came on air, we were just talking about the race from an each-way perspective, just because of this quarter first three. I mean, I did a bit of maths before we came on. If you bet every horse in the race, all 8 runners at a quarter the odds first three, you will make a profit if you stake it accordingly. You will make a profit on the place part of your bet. You can't lose. So therefore, if you say there's 250 to 1 chances in the race, which maybe you could put a line through possibly, and if you say maybe Masterminded and Captain Chris are 2-mile horses running in a longer
Why
distance
is Mastermind
race.
actually running in this race?
Well, I arranged Clive Smith, the owner of Mastermind and Corto Star, arranged an interview. He had an interview with Radio 2, so I was lucky enough to get a bit of insight in there. Mastermind is running because they do think now that at this age, it's the time to step up and see if he can handle the 3 miles. So that's why it's in there as a bit of a...
So what would be a positive then now? Would it be a positive if he gets round and he's staying on quite strong at the finish? Or
no, it's in there to win the race, and this is just more of an experiment to see whether or not he can stay 3 miles.
But that would put me off lumping on it each way, really. I mean,
no, exactly. I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
I certainly wouldn't.
There's going to be a lot of layers in at 6 to 1. Surely.
Well, I think
you
back it to win, Mastermind. You might not back it each way. Though. That's what the boys are probably alluding to. It may well win hard held. It's possible, but the each way, the each way part of it is probably difficult.
It's a fantastic jumper and at speed, which is obviously required in this race. The difference here is that not at speed over 2 miles like the Champion Chase wins, 3 miles here at Kempton.
And also, we're not expecting bad weather. We're not expecting much rain, so it's not going to be a sapping race.
No.
So obviously, if there was any question marks over his
stamina,
they're not really going to be tested on.
If you fancy Masterminded in any way to run any kind of race, 16 to 1, I think it is for the Queen Mother Champion Chase at the moment at Cheltenham. I mean, that's for me. That's more likely to be its race.
No runner, no bet.
No, I don't think. I think that might be.
But I think it's big enough.
Money if it doesn't run.
It's with obviously it's without
all-in
run or not. But
this was 9 to 4 to win that race this time last year.
I would say that that 16 to 1 is a decent investment. You might not even line up for the race, but I would say that was pinpointed in midweek, wasn't it? Someone put that up in midweek.
I think Bruce Millington was talking about it, the Racing Post editor.
Yeah.
What does he know?
Exactly. I could actually go along those lines, but Mastermind is definitely in there as a bit of an experiment, but could win hard held, as you say, if it copes with the extra mile. I think you need to look off the graphic. I'm trying to remember the
Diamond Harry. We got Diamond Harry at 16 to 1,
and Nakarat. Now, Nakarat, I would say that Nakarat is the each-way bet in this race because I
50 to 1?
Yeah, I can see Nakarat being the one that can actually get round and get third and expose the ones that don't stay.
Okay, well, 50 to 1.
That's not a bad. I like your angle here, Alan.
Because there's a danger that Nakarat and Corto Star could take each other on for the front, but I like the viewpoint because there's a lot of horses in there who it could go wrong for. And I know, Channers, you're probably looking for some each-way value.
We can talk about the King George from now until the race on Boxing Day. But again, I want a bit like yourself with sporting events over Christmas. I love it, NFL. NFL, they play on Christmas Eve, they played on Boxing Day, and we've got so many teams. Green Bay Packers have been favourites throughout the year. In the last few weeks, they got beat. They're 13-1, and they're last year's winners. New England Patriots, they've got a lot of players coming back, and for me, they are the real dangers to stopping Green Bay doing back-to-backs.
Well, Channers has got a big view on this, I know, but I think this American football's coming to a perfect time of the year now. We saw Houston last night get chinned by Indianapolis, a big favourite getting beat. Obviously, Green Bay get beat by Kansas, but I know, Neil, you probably love this time of year, don't you, these last few weeks?
Well, I just like to, again, same as in all sports, I just like to be against the public, basically. The one team that's interesting at the moment from the public point of view, and the one guy that everyone talks about at the moment is this Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is the quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
And he got taught a lesson against the Patriots.
Well, he's terrible, basically. He's absolutely awful. You know, they have basically no passing game whatsoever, but the public in America absolutely love him.
Because he's so unpredictable in the pocket.
And he's been
go
winning.
To throw and end up running for 30 yards.
And at the end of the day, they've been winning games, you know, which is interesting. But one angle that I really like, because this is the last week of the regular season, and as we get to this later stage of the season, people are talking about, you know, who needs to win and who doesn't need to win, and we're coming to the last bit of the season. So we've got Denver are playing away at Buffalo, and it's a real must-win game for Denver, and everybody loves Tebow. So I've got to be with Buffalo. That'll be my tip of the week.
That's a great science, Chan, is that?
Yeah.
But there again, if the pressure might just get to the young boy.
Well, it's not just that. It's in. I'm just thinking about prices. It's all in the market. The bookmakers they know how it works. They know everybody loves Tebow. They know everyone wants to be on the team that needs to win. And he's factored into the prices already. Buffalo are at home, and they're getting a 3-point start. That'll do for me.
Well, these are actually the Super Bowl prices to win it. Anything jump out there, gentlemen?
Well, at the moment, I mean, you'll obviously look at NFC and AFC. Obviously, Green Bay and New Orleans stand out in the NFC, and I think Green Bay still will be difficult to stop in that side of the draw.
It's a pretty stale market.
It's a stale market,
as
Chan said. You're not going to get anyone really leaping forward. I mean, we have seen teams actually in recent seasons, wildcard teams, come through and do well, but this year it just looks to be fairly solid and
I don't think we haven't hardly seen a price change in 4 weeks.
They're very similar prices to last week. In fact, it was Green Bay's first defeat last week.
Last week they got.
I think they were 11-8 out to 6-4. So
didn't really matter.
Just off the back.
I mean, I'm a big New England Patriots fan, and I just love everything they do over the years, and that's cost me. But Pittsburgh Steelers, not with my Patriots hat on, they are real value because they were beaten in the final last year by Green Bay.
Yeah, that's true.
They have got an unbelievable record, home or away in playoffs. Now, if they get, I think, New England in the AFC game, then I think it'll.
Well, as you probably know, you blokes, I'm an insomniac and also a degenerate gambler. So what I actually do is stay up for all of these games, Flash. I've got no problem with that. And I stayed up to see San Francisco play Pittsburgh actually on Monday night, and I've got to tell you that Pittsburgh were handed a serious lesson. You know, really something with the tail between the legs. It doesn't actually matter that much because, like you said, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, this Mike Tomlin and these guys, and they absolutely know how to get the job done. But I think we're going to see. I think we can pretty much write a lot of the fixtures, the quarterfinals, if you like. We'll probably write what those fixtures are going to be. Then that'll be interesting then to get the viewpoint of what you boys like then.
Well, the big value for me there was Pittsburgh. But I'm on Patriots all the way. Now, Christmas specials, will it snow, won't it snow? There's no snow, is there?
Absolutely. I think you get about 66-1 now. Yeah. It's drifted. I mean, last week when we spoke, it was 6-1, and it had actually snowed that morning. It had been backed in or shortened, shall we say, from 8-1 into 6. But I think the temperatures are going to be about 11 degrees. So
weird,
all
wacky,
that money comes in.
Wacky specials about top TV show. Christmas #1 has obviously been done and dusted.
Well, I put one up last week. Yeah, and there's been quite a big move. I don't know whether you remember. It was. I had a theory because
I think it's a great theory.
EastEnders and Downton Abbey are both on at the same time, so they're going to split the vote, obviously. So slipping up the rail, we got Doctor Who,
especially in these days of Sky Plus as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're exactly right, Alan. That's exactly the reason people just stick the Sky Plus on and they can watch it all later. So Doctor Who, I tipped it last week. I went straight home and backed it. I'd forgotten to back it before I came here. 6-4. It's 10-11 now. I don't know. I kind of still think it's value.
So do I. You're on the right side.
Yeah,
You've got the value.
I still think it's value because, like Coronation Street's 33-1. I think that's kind of gone as a kind of
Coronation Street
Christmas
only gets around 9 million now.
Exactly.
On a normal week, whereas the X Factor and programs like that were beating it by about 4 million. So it's not one of those programs that even peaks in normal weeks.
I'm quite looking forward to Channis's Twitter feed just before Doctor Who comes on. Make sure you tune in, everyone.
Absolutely.
There's a great show coming
Twitter
up.
will be, I'm on Doctor Who tonight. So all them followers
strongly suggest you watch this great show.
I'll be like, no Sky Plussing it, guys. I want you watching it live.
Exactly, yeah. Forget your EastEnders. Yeah, so we're going to have a short break, and then coming up, we're going to have a look at the darts. We're going to have a look at our special bets. But give us 2 minutes, and you'll be back here, and we'll show you how to earn your money over the Christmas period. Welcome back to the Punter. I'm Flash. This is going to be your last opportunity to get some money for Christmas with these boys. I'm joined by Neil, Alan and Russ, and I've got the butler up on the screen. And the darts, gentlemen. No Christmas is the same without darts. And Taylor, is it Taylor or Anderson?
I'll tell you what, up to this point so far, I mean, and I think in fairness to Neil, he touched on this last week, absolutely brilliant tournament, brilliant for TV, brilliant for punting, instant punting as well. So I think as a bookmaker, just taking kind of my neutral hat, put my neutral hat on at the moment, it's just been a great tournament so far. I don't know where you stand on this moment, Al, from a bookmaking point of view, but I mean, you know, I'm still happy to lay this Taylor 4-5. I've seen some great darts this week. I think there's always capability of one of these guys just putting in a big performance and maybe chinning this guy.
I mean, we put up the price against Taylor where you could back the whole field at the start, and we saw a lot of interest in that. So, I mean, our books are pretty much balanced between the special that we offered and taking on Taylor in the actual outright itself. But personally, I just think that if it works out for him match by match, you look at the price he's going to be for each match going through, and I think someone worked out a while back that as it gets towards the end, he's such a short price for those games that actually backing him to win outright is a much better bet, because it never adds up to the price he is for the actual game. I mean, if you were to say that he was meeting Lewis, who's the second favourite, in the final tomorrow, what price would he be? He'd be around 2 to 5, wouldn't he? Something like that.
Maybe 3 on.
Yeah, maybe 3 on.
Well, let's bring
So I
the
think
butler
you've
in,
actually got to say that he is a good bet at this price. If you do fancy him, obviously.
Okay, the butler, are you for or against Taylor?
Well, if you've been against him in the last few years, it's the first way to the poorhouse. I opposed him many occasions in those times, so don't worry about that. But I think the thing is with him now is that everyone looks at this guy, he can get beat, but he very rarely does, and that's the problem. I think the gap is closing, but I think the gap is closing as well on the guys who are 200 to 1, 150 to 1 shots. I don't think the gap is as big as, say, for example, Mervyn King and A.D. Lewis. I don't think one's 50 to 1 and one's 15 to 2. I just don't understand that. I think the gap is getting smaller between all of them. I mean, you've only got to look in our office. We move money for people who struggle sometimes to get bets on that. You know, they're considered to be probably a little bit cleverer than a normal punter. And with the 3 punters that they've backed for the darts, Mervyn King each way, and Wayne Jones each way, and Dave Chisnell, who is all at big prices. And I'm talking £200 or £300 each way at big prices, 300 to 1, 200 to 1, those kind of prices. So what that's telling me is that I don't think this tournament I think this tournament is as wide open as ever. And I think you could get a real shock bloke here into the final.
It's funny that Nigel says that, because the PDC MD, Matt Punter, on his Twitter feed, he was saying in midweek that now he doesn't really see much between the top and the bottom. He really thinks now that it's full of strength. Before, the people used to say about the PDC that it was very top heavy, and now I think obviously he would say that because he's part of it, but I think people are tending to agree that there's a lot of strength in depth now in this side, and maybe that is the way to go to pick out those ones that are lingering at big prices.
Whoever wins it, it's going to be great viewing anyway, and there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and it's just one of them, another spectacle over Christmas that we can definitely not do without. Okay, Flash's 5. After last week, I got 2 wrong. I went for...
That's terrible, Flash.
Well, it is.
19 out of 20?
Shameful.
Because I've got 5 wrong over the last 5 weeks, and 4 of them have not actually been beat. But I haven't actually... I mean, Shrewsbury to beat Macclesfield, and then Plymouth to beat Hereford. I quite like Plymouth because they've got some... they're an underrated side, and they're obviously... You want to get them, and you offer the right sort of value. Ipswich to beat Derby was another one. I thought Ipswich, after scoring 5, would be on the up. But the bottom line is 3 out of 5, better than 50%, but not quite good enough for those that want to put them all together.
Very good.
But this week I've really gone for it. I've gone for Newcastle to beat Bolton because everyone I've spoken to fancies Bolton.
That's the way to do it.
And doesn't like Newcastle.
That's the Channer's view, isn't it?
No,
That's the Channer's view. Everyone's does
that would generally be.
The main one, Reading to beat Brighton. Brighton obviously had 2 important players sent off last week. They're going to be out tomorrow. Brighton they're flattered to deceive. I've seen them a few times. So I think that Reading, they need the points to get closer to obviously up with the top 6. Millwall Portsmouth, I think that's a lunchtime kick-off. It's a bore draw. I really can't see splitting them 2 sides. The same really with Sunderland and Everton. I see that if Sunderland go 1-0 up, then Everton can come back because they're so nervous of points. that no one's going to go and try and get the second. So I think the 1-1 draw or 0-0 again there, and Oldham to beat Hartlepool. Well, Hartlepool managerless. My old teammates are actually running the show up there at the minute, and I don't fancy them at all. So I think for a £5, I think it's about 120 to 1.
Is that all?
Yeah. So again,
that should be all right. That'll be all right.
yeah.
You can afford to do the fours as well, I think. In those.
Yeah, well, that's what I always say.
that.
That I always say if you do 5 4-timers and an ACCA, you get 4. You're still going to have a good payday.
And just if I've got to be honest with you, I mean, joking aside, I mean, you've got a really terrific record on these things.
Good
I mean, it's
strike rate.
very,
Very
very
good
good
strike
strike rate. You're doing yourself in there saying how
Mind you,
how
listening
poor it was. You're doing
to
very
that,
well, you're doing very well.
I'm getting excited about under the goals in a couple of these
Oh yeah,
games.
Millwall.
There you go.
Millwall,
I might get
Portsmouth.
stuck in there.
Obviously, we're going to come to you now for your charity bet. So what have you got there?
Well, actually, there was one Premier game we didn't even really touch on at all.
That's why you're going to touch on it
There's
now.
one team that people consistently lump in when they're talking about Arsenal and Chelsea and Man United and Man City. They quite often mention this other team as if they're just, and it's not Liverpool. Actually, Liverpool, they lump them in with those 5 as if they're just as good. How did Tottenham Hotspur suddenly get that good? I don't understand that. Odds on, away from home against, I'm going with Norwich again. I went with Norwich last week. They score goals, which for me is always important in football matches. And more important than that is prices. 4 to 1 at home. Yeah. How can Tottenham be odds on?
I think I've alienated all of my fellow Arsenal fans by the rant earlier in the programme about how bad Arsenal are at the moment. I'm now going to probably go one step further by saying that I think Tottenham are possibly the real deal and possibly do deserve to be lumped in with these teams. On a neutral venue, I would definitely at the moment make them favourites against Arsenal. Now, you've said that Arsenal deserve to be in that 5. Well, on that basis, then surely Tottenham do as well.
I don't necessarily say Arsenal deserve, but I'm saying that is traditionally the group of the big 5 that people talk about.
We've got Channers.
I think they've proved it though, Tottenham. I mean, we were there on Sunday, and they had to cope with the loss of Bale and then Lennon, who got injured during the match, and they still managed to grind out the result, and that's what the good teams do.
Good shout.
The Butler, give us one for the Christmas period.
I would definitely go with Stoke. Sorry, mate. I'm going to go against Channers. Unlike you, Flash, I haven't got one thing right on this show. So it's got to change. It's got to change. So I'm going to go with Stoke to beat Villa, mate.
All right then, Butler. We'll see you again next time.
No, just before you go, are we having more money on Jason Donovan this week, or have we done with that now?
I'm going to back him to win. I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here next year.
Christmas number 1.
We'll get it all back.
Cheers,
we'll
the
get it all
Butler.
back.
So we've got Norwich. Merry Christmas to you. We've got Norwich for you, Channers.
Yeah.
One word. Wolves +1 against Arsenal.
Wolves +1.
Didn't have a view flash, but now it's under the goals. 2.5 Millwall Portsmouth after listening to you, Garby.
Can I give you one last one flash before we go?
Knackerat each way. Sorry,
Knackerat each way.
I like
50 to 1.
50 to 1. I like this angle, but I'm not opposing it because I probably do both. But I'm going to Diamond Harry each way for me, 16 to 1 in the King George as well.
So if you fancy Diamond Harry, you got 16 to 1 each way from Channers. You got Knackerat at 50 to 1 each way from Al. Under 2.5 goals, Millwall Tottenham. You couldn't ask for anything more. Join us again. I've been Flash with Russ and Al and Channers, and we'll see you soon. And a Merry Christmas.